To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
It was a day of celebrating on two coasts yesterday. Capitals and Warriors both getting their championship parades in like any great party. That means you get tons of drunk people having too much fun. The guests of honor yelling like maniacs in some cases. And as always in the NBA, some newsworthy trash talking and petty shade throwing. We're going to get to all of it.
Yes, we are.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey, sitting next to Mike Golic and Mike Golic Jr. Gentlemen, how are we doing this morning?
Doing well. It's going to get fun to get into the parades because there are some different things that went on. That's of a team that's won 3 in the last 4 years to a team that won their first. There's certainly a difference in celebration and kind of how you act through the whole thing. It's pretty interesting.
Also, just the inherent differences between the two leagues right now, because one is just full of the purity of celebration that we'd all imagine, and the other can't help but leak shade at any given moment in time. That just seems to be their operation. You can always kind of smell it out there. It smells like someone is saying something foul about someone else.
But realistically, isn't that why we're paying attention to the NBA all the time? I mean, the NBA has figured out a way, especially on social media, but even in their parties, we're looking at it and we're digging 5 steps too deep trying to figure out what these guys are all saying about each other.
The NBA offseason last year was, we keep talking about the NFL being year-round and their offseason is incredible. The NBA offseason last year, and then again looking forward now to this year with LeBron, where is LeBron going to go? They have been on fire. They have absolutely been on fire from their ratings, whether they're flat or going up a little bit. Flat nowadays is great, quite honestly. Anything but down. So they've been flat or up some. And then their off seasons have been fantastic, even if it's throwing shade. I don't care. We don't care. It's called content.
Well, you create interest because you create personalities, and you've got guys that are different. You've got guys that are doing all of these human things. Sports is always called a great soap opera, and you just get soap operas with more compelling characters with better backstories. We've got all these interpersonal beef between guys that have played together and are now playing against each other that can't seem to keep their names out of each other's mouths. It's all compelling theater, and it's a reminder of why this one league seems to continue to be on an upward trajectory, because they make us care about the people involved.
While you're watching the Bachelor and Bachelorette reality shows, we are watching true reality in pro sports.
Listen, I'm just saying our worlds aren't all that different, so everyone can make fun of me for watching trash reality TV. You're just watching reality TV with better paid actors.
I don't think it's the fact that you watch reality TV. It's the fact that you watch The Bachelor, The Bachelorette specifically, like Below Deck Mediterranean classy show. All right, Bachelor, Bachelorette, not classy.
That's it. All right, and we got to ask straight out. You have a jersey on. You're wearing a jersey on a Wednesday morning. What's the jersey?
NLL, National Lacrosse League, man. It's the Philadelphia Wings. New team. Get excited, man.
Look at that. How about that? Speaking of which, shouldn't we be following the lacrosse? Is it called the World Cup in lacrosse? Because in the World Cup in soccer, we're not in, the men, which the World Cup is getting ready to go. But there's the World Cup or whatever it's called for lacrosse. Did we play yesterday? I think the U.S. played yesterday. I don't know how we did. We got to find out. That may be the team we have to follow since our men aren't in the World Cup.
We got to wrap ourselves in the flag for somebody, and it's basically going to end up being us versus Canada. So.
The jerseys for your dad and I presume, are out in the hall?
They're coming. I forgot it over at my desk. It'll be fine. So.
Whatever.
Golic and Wingo. Let's get a little bit to what's trending. Washington Nationals star Bryce Harper left Tuesday night's 3-0 loss to the New York Yankees after being hit on the left foot with an 89-mile-per-hour slider in the 8th inning.
Yeah, also in the 5th inning, he got hit in the shoulder and hit the deck. So he walked twice and got hit twice. Now, it looks like he's going to be fine. There's been a lot of talk about Bryce Harper lately, again, leading the National League with 19 home runs, but he's struggled. hitting the ball. They didn't struggle hitting him yesterday. As I said, hit twice. What was it, in the shoulder or the elbow? One of the two. He was
elbow, I think.
In the elbow and then in the foot. So he left the game. Looks like he's going to be fine to play tonight, though it was the Yankees getting the 3-0 win. Gregorius got the 2 home runs in that game for the 3-zip win. The Nationals do get Daniel Murphy back for the first game, his first game back from injury. He was 0 for 4, but they could use him to start hitting as people are talking about this as a possibility of a World Series preview.
Yeah, these have been 2 great teams all throughout the year, and for the Nats, a little bit of a setback. It's the perfect information, the perfect dump day for something like that, while you've got the Caps victory parade going on. Because for the Yankees, it was all good news, to your point. Didi Gregorius, they come into this leading in, runs per game, leading the league in home runs as well. You get more good news for them. The Nats, a little setback right now, but that Daniel Murphy resurgence into this lineup is going to be, I think, the best thing you can take from this going forward.
Strong pitching effort, too. CC Sabathia with 5 2/3 scoreless innings. Had a nice night on the mound overall for the Yankees. So they get a big win. We're confident Harper will play tonight. Confidence theme brought to you by National Mortgage Lender. Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Staying in Major League Baseball for the second straight game, Angels outfielder Mike Trout homered twice in a losing effort.
I mean, that's unbelievable. You think about that. For the Mariners ended up getting 2 home runs apiece by a couple of players. They win the game 6-3. The last player to have multi-home run games in back-to-back losses was Jason Worth back in July of 2013 for the Nationals. So Trout continues to do what Trout does, hit the ball. He's hitting, I think, 310, hitting home runs, sitting there 22nd and 23rd home runs of the year, leading the league, doing his normal MVP stuff. But unfortunately, the win doesn't come along with it because Seattle does them one better with a couple guys hitting multis.
Yeah, normal there, but how about the abnormal here? Seattle now, a half game up on the Astros in the NFL West? The NL West, the NFL West. There's a fine. The NL West, but Seattle continuing to sort of defy and rise to the top this year. Somewhere now, a lot of happy colleagues of ours in Seattle, the Kenny Maynes and Mina Kimes of the world.
Yeah, they are. You're right.
Continually.
Half game up in the AL West over Houston. The Angels 6.5 back after that loss. So, yeah, Seattle back up on top again.
Oh, researcher Riley, too. Mariners fan in the building right now. Riley, what are the feelings in Seattle right now? Rolling.
Love it. Party like it's 2001.
I do think it's pretty remarkable, too, when you look across Major League Baseball as a whole. In the East, you got Yankees, Red Sox in a battle. Mariners, Astros, you mentioned. In the NL yesterday, the Cubs, Brewers, that series is obviously, they're separated by half a game in the standings. Right. All the way across, it feels like there's a reason to watch a couple of teams in every division. So it's really compelling, tight baseball so far this season.
And not even at the All-Star break yet. Trade deadline. We'll always have some fun with that, so we'll see where it goes.
Well, we'll stay in baseball, but it's not as much fun here. It was a rough night. Miguel Cabrera left the Tigers 6-4 loss to Minnesota. This is how it sounded.
Hitting .320 with nice numbers all around. There's a swing and a miss, and Miguel just dropped his bat, turned and grabbed his left arm.
97 won the ticket on the call. He drops his back. Bat turns and walks off, and it looks like he's gone for the year.
Ruptured bicep, and that's one that's the thing about athletes that are so tuned into their body. When you hurt something, you know it. He knew what he did, and at first, the thought was it a strain. It wasn't. It was a rupture. Going to have surgery for the 35-year-old. Signed this deal. I believe he played 14 and 15. Riley, correct me if I'm wrong, on his old deal, and the new one kicked in 16. Is that correct, or am I off by a year?
Kicked in 16.
Kicked in 16, and that was his last All-Star appearance, by the way, in 16. He's getting his $30 million salary this year. After this year, he's still owed another $162 million as this deal, before we start getting to options, runs through 2023, where next year it's 30 million, 30 million, 30 million, 32, 32, and he's 35 years old right now. So they owe him a lot of money for a lot of years, and that last All-Star year has been 2016. Now he's going to be coming off this surgery.
Well, I think the buyout, they said, wasn't eligible till 2024 or something like that. I mean, we're talking simultaneously about a bunch of young stars in the NFL struggling to get paid. Meanwhile, you're going to owe $162 million to a now injured, potentially potentially 40-year-old down the road.
By the way, that buyout in 2024 is $58 million. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That is not bad money if you can get it. You know you're talking silly money.
Smokes.
When he signed that deal, LeBron actually tweeted out at the time, wow, should have played baseball. When NBA players are basically looking at it and saying should have played. But there is a real-life effect of this for the team right now. This is what Detroit manager Ron Gardenhire had to say after the game.
Very sad day for a baseball team, though. He's a special player and a special person to have around here, and that's a blow. I felt terrible when I saw him do that, so just one of those things. He took a swing, missed the ball, and the thing popped. Pretty sad.
You can tell by his reaction that it was a pretty grave injury.
You could see him. When he left his bat and started walking, he knew it, and he felt it. He felt it pop, and, so that's a bad feeling.
Now, this one, he's out for the year, but he had also missed 26 games with a hamstring strain. This is his 12th game he's played since missing those 26 games. So, injury bug setting in. And as we mentioned, 35 years old and a whole lot of years of pain coming up.
I'm still stunned, clock or not. I'm still stunned. You rupture your bicep, and he just walks off the field. Like, I stubbed my toe. Well, I'm done for 20 minutes in the apartment. I'm laying there. I'm doing full Peter Griffin. He ruptures his bicep.
He ruptured his bicep. He didn't hurt his legs. Why shouldn't he walk off? Or what do you want him to do?
No, but like, he just walked off so casually. He's like, arm, like he's holding his arm a little bit. Like, I'd be rolling on the ground screaming in agony for an hour.
Fitz would need the full Paul Pierce wheelchair.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
For the shoulder injury,
really, anytime you get, like, I get up from this chair and I'm like, my back, that's where we are. I'm not proud of it. Speaking of not proud, I'm not sure the Raptors should be proud of this one. The final NBA head coaching vacancy filled. The Raptors expected to hire Nick Nurse as their next head coach. Nurse was the assistant coach there for the last 5 years under Dwayne Casey.
I mean, I'm trying to figure this one out other than more than we're firing him because we need to show like we're doing something. Nick Nurse has been under Casey, for about 5 years now? I mean, you go back to where this guy started out over a decade in the British Basketball League, where he was a two-time champ and coach of the year. He won 2 G League titles, and then for 5 years has been working under Casey, basically on the offensive side. And you're going to hire him for a team that, Fitz, we were talking about before the show, has no cap space, no draft picks, basically have what they have for a while now, and you got rid of Dwayne Casey and you hired his assistant. I don't really get it. Of what went on there.
The only thing I can think of is that idea, and we hear it all the time in in sports, but maybe that voice has gotten stale in the room, and maybe new leadership is necessary. A lot of people credit some of that offensive change that we saw, that new style from Toronto this season, with what he had done, with him being sort of the offensive coordinator for this group. In Nurse, so maybe there's part of that and just saying, you know what, we liked the direction it was going with you at the helm as a key portion of changing this offense. Let's keep it going that way while also just giving the guys in that room a new voice to respond to. Really, the most important offseason move that the Toronto Raptors can make is getting LeBron to the Western Conference.
Yeah, that would be. And oh, by the way, didn't they have 59 wins this year? I mean, with Dwayne Casey as the head coach? I mean, I know that the postseason didn't go well. I get it, but their regular season was pretty darn good. And I know you're not living on your regular season, and it's been the fallout, especially to the Cavaliers. But man, that still feels like I get what you're saying, Mike. But man, it still feels like we got to do something just to say we're doing something.
It feels to me like they're just buying a year, right? Because they got DeRozan, Lowry, and Ibaka all through contracts through 1920, team controlled 19 through 1920 season. So this gives them a year to figure out, what they're really going to do when they rebuild the entire franchise from the bottom up in a year.
The Kobe Bryant School of Championship Building. Just figure out a way.
Figure it out.
Just figure it out.
Just figure it out.
Well, figuring it out's what they're doing in Indianapolis. It's a Wednesday in June when an NFL quarterback throwing a football is news, but that's where we are. Andrew Luck throwing not a normal football, but he's throwing a little football, and that counts.
Yeah, we're going to get, I know, more into this, but I remember last year when we were discussing this through now saying, well, he hasn't thrown, and I'd be like, who cares if he hasn't thrown? It doesn't have to worry about not throwing now. It's just about camp, and then we obviously saw what happened. Mike, I'm amazed at this. We have seen injuries last for a while and a residual effect of an injury and then coming back from an injury. I'm amazed at this one. And just what is wrong with that shoulder and how long it has taken to come back and the lack of actual trust in knowing, we know, as we're going to play the sound at some point of him saying he's going to be back. Talk about not being able to believe anything coming out of Indianapolis until you actually see this guy trot out onto the field in a regular season game.
It's the ultimate boom or bust team in the NFL going into this season, right? Does it all hinge on one player any more than this? You can argue a couple other teams, but Carson Wentz coming back from injury, you've got the Nick Foles guarantee there.
Right.
Deshaun Watson coming back from injury in Houston, you've at least got returning stars on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have a marquee effect. Andrew Luck is so the sun and the moon for this team that you're right. Until I see him in a regular season game, until I see him walk out of the field week 1 against Cincinnati, I'm still going to be like, really?
Well, and even when he does walk out on the field, there has to be some rust, right? There has to be some concern about the fact that it's been so long since he played a game that mattered. Mm-hmm. Do we have any idea what he will look like as a quarterback?
Rust and then trepidation of him hurting it again. I mean, this is at a point where this guy was throwing privately with his coach Frank Reich and telling Frank, please don't tell the media, of that I'm throwing right now. I mean, it's so clandestine. It's unbelievable what's going on with his throwing, and all the passes yesterday were short 5-yard passes and such. It's really been amazing.
It's a guy who's been so beaten back by this process, who's so afraid of another setback becoming part of the story that he wants to avoid having it come out at all costs.
And you mentioned boom or bust. I think that's sort of a concept in general for the AFC South, which I think this year is one of the toughest divisions to predict, because Deshaun Watson, we don't know what that's going to look like when he comes back from injury. We don't know what Andrew Luck's going to look like. The Titans have a new coaching staff that it's hard to tell what they're going to look like, and Jacksonville is still Blake Bortles.
Wow. Still throwing shade at Blake Bortles.
I'm just saying. That gets you caught up on what's trending. I beat the bomb.
Nice.
I beat it barely. You're listening to Golic and Wingo. We're presented by Progressive Insurance with more than 30 unique coverage options available. Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey, sitting next to Mike Golic Jr. And before we get into all the football and all the Andrew Luck talk, let's have a little fun with the parades. Okay, there was a tale of two different cities yesterday, and in two different styles, really, right? As you guys mentioned, the Capitals get their first parade. Washington gets their first championship parade in 26 years. And as a result, and not unexpectedly, given the way that Alexander Ovechkin has been partying with the cup, it sounded like they were having a good time. Check this out.
Your captain and playoff MVP, number 8, Alex Ovechkin.
The one and last thing, before the year, I said, not me say, it's just us saying, we're not going to be f***ing sucked this year. We're the Stanley Cup champions! Yeah!
Honest moment, that's what you two sound like every time you find out I'm sitting in on Golic and Wingo, right? Just like that.
All I can think of when I hear that sound is, I fight for me!
Drago. It comes up with a Drago quote. That's nice. I do like that.
It is the first thing that comes to my mind. That, and he is also ready for the World Cup. I know we're not in it, but a lot of calls like that. Ovi seems ripe for an offseason where he can go and just immediately start calling game winners.
So someone just have him call goals, yell goal, and
just
see
tell
what it
him to yell goal and just hand him a beer.
I love the pure joy of that. The screams at the end were just, pure joy of a first time winning the cup for that team and the hump they got over in doing that. Man, I love the way they have been celebrating. I absolutely love the joy which they've had in doing this.
When you think about the number of pictures we've seen of Ovechkin specifically with the cup and alcohol in the last 4 days, and the fact that he was still able to speak that coherently, like I can't make it through a Saturday night at my house and sound like that at the end of the night. He still did it. It's impressive. I'm sorry.
It is. It's great. And it's the simple joy. And I know we can appreciate that. Dad, I know you can appreciate this. You're a man of simple taste. You like a good bath, your iPad being fully charged up, and making sure that all the cable TV works at whatever home you're in at that point.
Simple joys.
Simple joys in life. Simple joys for Ovi. He just worried about where his next beer is coming from. That's exactly all he cares about. And then we get the NBA, where it seems like motivations are always in question and at the forefront. Your interpersonal beefs and relationship with your teammates, current and former, all seem to come up. Life gets so much more complicated, but at the same time, kind of interesting for us.
Yeah, and nothing was more interesting yesterday. Obviously, Draymond Green was throwing some shade. That we expect from Draymond. But I think the funniest moment from the parade actually came from, not from a player in the NBA, but from Bob Myers, Golden State's general manager. Check this little nugget out.
I heard you tell Kevin Durant he can have whatever contract he wants next year.
Yeah, that was just for the media. He can't have anything like that at all.
Mid-level.
Yeah, mid-level, behind closed doors.
Because I think last year you told Steph he could have any contract he wants, too.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, that was different. He's been here from the run, the way before days. He's earned it.
That moment of everyone pauses and then goes, oh, I mean, that is priceless.
I think he's looking for the stint to headline SNL. Saturday Night Live. I think he's just trying to kick out the jokes, and trying to think of the jokes, and that one I'm sure is going to be played an awful lot today.
Did anyone know what Bob Meyer's voice sounded like before the last 2 days?
Nope.
This guy has made a name for himself first, going all the way with all of the Kevin Durant love a day ago. Man, that seems like a long time ago at this point now.
Yeah, now you put it in with Steph, who's been here through the good times and the bad, and he's earned it. And I mean, listen, do I think it was anything more than joking around? I don't think it was anything more than that. There was nothing serious about that. But who's not going to understand Kevin Durant earning the money and getting the money for being the second best player in the league that he's going to get? But you're right. The differences of that side. Draymond Green has won. They have won. He has 3 championships in 4 years, yet he's still going to wear a shirt with an Arthur fist on it with 3 rings on it. I mean, at what point do you just say, dude, we're the champs? We're everything comes to us. We don't have to send any messages anymore. Yet that's all that happens is messages are being sent. It's unreal.
When you have a chance to stunt, you stunt.
Yeah, but where's the fine line between, and this is the difference between big boy and little guy, right? When you say you have a chance, you do it. But then there's the flip side of it. It's like, well, obviously they're in his head, right? There's a little moment like if you are in your championship parade and that's your moment where you're suddenly going to use it to try and trash LeBron and go at Tristan Thompson, I don't understand it.
Hell, LeBron and them did the same thing. We remember that Halloween party when they had all those 3-1 cookies in there. Like, this is just what these guys do, man. They like to remind each other. We talked about this the other day when Lonzo Ball released that diss track for Kyle Kuzma. And we talk about this is just the language that guys speak in the locker room where you're constantly just throwing barbs at each other. That's how most, friends, especially guy friends, always say, this is just the way that we show affection. Well, it may not be affection, but this is just the way guys operate.
Try and one up one another.
And I don't mean guys in general like that, but I mean guys in sports, people in sports settings. That's the way you operate in any locker room, as male or female. When you're in these athletic settings, competition is such a firmly ingrained part of your being that when you got the chance to throw it in someone's face and you're good enough to probably do it again next year and the year after that if you want to, comes a little easier.
Well, we'll get in later into the show on why the Golden State thing could be coming to a close faster than some of us think.
Golic and Wingo.
And Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr.
Yeah.
Man, a classic.
Springsteen. Nice job, Cliff.
What
totally
a timeless
overrated. Totally overrated. Springsteen.
What?
Springsteen overrated. You know what? I know everybody's going to be
this song.
No, Bruce Springsteen as a whole overrated. Overrated.
See,
my co-host Sarah Spain is going to murder me for saying that. She went to see his Providence.
Okay,
he's got some good songs, but we make it out like he's suddenly this like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I take Bon Jovi over Springsteen any day.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, no.
The full band, not just John. I want my Richie Sambora.
Listen, I love Bon Jovi.
I want my Richie Sambora in
See,
in
now
this,
normally a statement like that, because I have said I think the Beatles are overrated, to which everybody yells at me. I like all of the Beatles when they've done individual songs. I think as a group, I understand their cultural significance, but I think overrated a bit. Him saying Springsteen is overrated. Now, normally I'd want to yell a lot, but the dude does come from music, been around it. Again, fiddle player for the band Perry, for those who may not know. So do we have to take his word a little more or still call him nuts?
Well, I think it's like anything else. Like, we heard Kobe Bryant espouse of a lot of opinions we disagreed about yesterday in the realm of basketball, and we still got to. I'm more concerned about his safety in this environment because it's pretty well documented at this point that the majority of, let's call it what it is, old white sports writers really worship at the altar of Bruce Springsteen, and you are in their den right now.
Wow.
You are in the lion's den.
I did not see this
the
coming.
number of my close friends here and elsewhere that are now deleting my number. Somebody has to say.
So you believe his whole catalog, the whole thing is overrated?
No, but I think you can have 1 or 2 good songs and it doesn't make you like he's out of him.
So 1 or 2 good songs you think Bruce Springsteen has had? I mean, I can't go
we're just
too
throwing it
nuts
out there,
because
yeah.
I can't go too nuts because I as I said, I think the Beatles are overrated.
Okay, do you want to tell me that have you ever been to a Springsteen concert?
Yes.
Okay, you want to tell me at some point you didn't check your clock and think, oh my God, when does this thing end?
See, but that goes against the narrative that we're all supposed to espouse. Is he's this unbelievable performer, and even if he gets up there,
I hear he played for 3 hours, and I'm thinking, oh God, somebody kill me.
But
Just
wait
take
a
me
minute.
out in the back.
Don't we all
chuck
sit
me
here?
into
But
2 hours too long.
On the other side of it, aren't we all always about, hey, man, I want to get my money's worth of this or money's worth of that? You know, the expensive concert tickets, the dude plays for 3 hours. Yeah. You get your money's worth.
Yeah, you greedy musicians hiking up ticket prices.
He's got a lot of hits, so he can play for 3 hours.
Okay, you know what? If I played an NFL game for 3 hours, would you want to watch me do that?
Yeah,
no, but
Sunday.
You're not good at it. He's really good at what he does.
Yeah, I mean,
you were going to say he's okay. That was coming out of your mouth.
He's okay. That's what I'm going to say. He's okay. Okay is a word people hate when they love or hate something. Like Springsteen's okay.
Man.
I'm going to get off Twitter for the rest of the day.
How was your blind date last night? It was okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Wow.
It's
uh-oh. Okay,
it's already starting. By the way, you're really put a lot of shrapnel going to come the way of your former bandmates too. Jeff David already. The band Perry is overrated. See, now they're coming.
I totally agree with that. Thank you so much.
Oh my God,
I'm good with that. You know?
What?
I love it when people come back and they say, like, somebody was trashing me the other day and was like, "You had one hit," and I'm like, "Well, no, I personally have had no hits. I just played in a band that had one mega hit, but you know, for its genre."
Wow, I mean,
but I would never put most country bands on the.
Bill tweets in, Springsteen overrated. Please remove him from the studio. He has totally discredited himself as a musician. Man, it's starting.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask everybody this before you attack me too much. Which one has sold, and not even just sold records? Which of these two acts has had hits on the radio relevant to current radio play every decade since they started? Bon Jovi or Springsteen? Because when's the last time Springsteen put out anything new that anybody wanted to digest? And in the 2000s and early 2010s, Bon Jovi was still putting out records that were on the radio. But the Backstreet Boys can get on the radio right now. I take the Backstreet Boys over Springsteen.
Oh, see, I'll co-sign that one.
Yeah, see.
Those guys
the new single's good. I don't care what anybody says.
If you're talking about, is he relevant now? Okay, that's not the question. The question is, in his heyday, you're still saying he was an overrated.
Yeah, the problem is he kept putting out music that he wants us, like, everybody puts out, like, okay, so a few years ago, you mentioned you liked the solo guys. I was at iHeart Music Festival out in Vegas. We played it, and Paul McCartney was playing. And I was so excited to get to sit and watch Paul McCartney. And I was sitting next to all these massive Paul McCartney fans. And I'm not kidding. About 15 minutes into Paul McCartney's set, we were like, oh my God, what is he doing? He was playing all new Paul McCartney stuff. Guess what? Nobody wants new Paul McCartney. Right. So, you know.
I had that happen with Third Eye Blind. I was floored. After Lollapalooza in Chicago, they were playing a smaller venue, and they came out right before it started and said, "We're glad all the real fans showed up here. We know you don't want to just hear the normal hits. We're playing nothing but deep cut Third Eye Blind." And I went, "Oh boy." This night just took a turn. You know what? Bartender.
Then that's another reason Springsteen can play for 3 hours, because you know every single one of his songs.
Do you though? Do you?
Riley,
Springsteen's like NPR.
How many number one, top 5, top 10 hits Springsteen's had? It may take you a while because there's going to be a lot.
Post 1990.
No.
Post 1990.
That's not the discussion. The discussion isn't how relevant it is today. It's like when he was in his heyday, how good was he? So you're saying in his heyday he was overrated? I would
take the Eagles and Aerosmith in their heyday over Bruce Springsteen in his heyday.
Okay, well, this opens up perfectly to our leave us a message at 860-506-5505. Jason Fitz, formerly of the band Perry, musician, 10 years old. He was at the Juilliard School of Good People That Play Music. And he says that I was having fun there.
It's right next to the Derek Zoolander School for kids who can't read good.
It has to be at least 3 times the size. So you're saying
I'm saying
Bruce
overrated.
Springsteen is overrated.
And this is going to be a recurring theme to somebody. Somebody says, go look up Woody Guthrie, learn something. Guys, I have been in the music business for 20 years.
That's the one thing I'm going to say.
And I will say this. I've been nominated for roughly 15 Grammys. I've won one. So I think I know a little bit of, I can still listen to music and not like the same things
Sounds
that
like
you guys
Wingo.
I was going to say, this is Wingo versus Ryan Hollins over again.
I'm going. No, because I'm going to Twitter guy. That's totally different.
860-506-5505. Tell us artists you think are overrated right now. We're airing musical grievances this morning.
Wow. It's Golic and Wingo. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey, sitting next to Mike and Mike Jr., presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests on the Shell Penzo Performance Line. I thought we were going to get into this, but then I destroyed the whole thing. We'll get to the NFL quarterback who threw a football yesterday. Also, a little creeped out. I found out that Golic Sr. is a Bath guy in the open of this segment. Whoa. So much to get to today.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Because Jay Billis and a lot of these guys that we'll hear from have smart answers, and they're a lot smarter than me.
You're pretty smart. You're probably the smartest one in the show, so don't start saying you're not that smart, because that really hurts Trey and I.
Hold on. I like how you just lump Trey into that.
We'll have an IQ test later
Trey,
to determine that.
Trey, you just got your phone number hacked, so I mean, come on.
It's Golic and Wingo.
Going to dispute Bruce Springsteen's EGOT claims in a second, but first, SportsCenter brought to you by Goodyear. With summer kicking into high gear, it's time to start planning some road trips. And while lots of items are on the checklist, remember to add a trip to Goodyear.com to the itinerary. When it comes to choosing tires, let Goodyear.com help you choose what's best. Goodyear, more driven.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey, and it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. We'll get right to Andrew Luck in just 1 second. While we were reading
so
tweets.
let's go. This happened simply by Cliff playing some music, coming back after break. Played some Springsteen, led to Jason Fitz throwing out the line, Springsteen is overrated, and here we are. Yeah. I mean, just with a massive discussion. Again, 860-506-5505. You want to chime in on this. He thinks Springsteen is overrated. I have said I think the Beatles are overrated. Other overrated bands out there, wherever you want to go. And then Mike threw out the point that he's one award away from an Emmy away from the EGOT?
He's an Emmy away from the EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, for people that might not be familiar with that acronym.
He was just given an honorary Tony for his show on Broadway. It wasn't a category, it wasn't nominated on, wasn't voted on. They gave him an honorary Tony.
And I don't know this, but that counts toward it?
I don't think it should. I mean, if I get an honorary doctorate from a school, do you have to call me Dr. Fitz from now on? Because if so, University of Phoenix online, call me. I need this.
If I'm
somehow
laying on an operating table looking up and seeing you because you have an honorary doctorate, no.
Make no mistake, if I get an honorary doctorate, which I am pursuing at this time, I'm getting ready to go after my honorary doctorate, you are 100% calling me doctor. I did a year of grad school, and I still want to make you call me doctor.
All right, so I mean, we're looking at it right now. Barbara Streisand has an EGOT, but she has a special Tony Award.
Ooh.
See,
it's a
lifetime achievement I can go with. Is that what it is? A
lifetime achievement for what? What did she do? Like, you should that's like getting a lifetime achievement award from the NFL that makes me a Hall of Fame member just because I talk about football.
So you don't think a lifetime achievement award should count over doing something that actually wins that award?
If you won a bunch of Tonys, you should get a lifetime achievement award from the Tonys.
There's part of me that agrees with you about the specialty award not counting in that.
You can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got a lot to discuss.
You know they do elect media members and contributors to Hall of Fames, right? Like Doris Burke's getting into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Right. Elected into the Hall of Fame for a lifetime of work in that particular
particular field.
Barbara Streisand getting an honorary Tony. She didn't win any Tonys. So to me, it's like, well, if you sing, if you play, if you sing, if you're Barbara Streisand and you sing, but you never won Tonys for your work, how can they just come in
give
and
you
say,
a lifetime for the Tony?
Here's a lifetime achievement award.
I oddly understand what you're saying, which is stunning.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
James Earl Jones is a lifetime achievement award from Tonys.
Well, he's the voice of Darth Vader, so I'm not going to question anything he does. That's what it all comes down to. I promise we'll get to sports here. Andrew Luck threw a football, and it was a tiny football, not a normal football.
Well, not like a tiny.
Was it a Nerf football?
Well, for him, it was a college size football.
The one that had the tail on it that whistles when you throw.
I do love those.
Like the Whopper Junior of footballs.
So he throws the Junior Bacon Cheeseburger because I'm a Wendy's guy. Remember, he throws that of footballs. He throws a college size football 20 to 25 times. Everybody sees it for the first time. And now we are all just up in arms and jumping around and doing all sorts of cartwheels. This is what Andrew Luck had to say about throwing his tiny football.
Yeah, so it's a lighter football. It's sort of a bridge. I've thrown a real football, the Duke, whatever you want to call it. I've picked it up and I've thrown it, and it felt great. And honestly, there was a little mental block to doing it, and I had to do it sort of by myself. I had Coach Wright come out on a day that not many people were here, and I made him swear to me that he wasn't allowed to tell anybody else about it, and it was my story to tell, so don't give him a hard time if you feel like he misled you guys. No, he's not. He's a good man. That was a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
I said it before, even last year at this time, it doesn't matter if he's not throwing the ball. It only matters in training camp and then the season, and we all know what happened there. So I'm kind of at a loss for where this is and how long this has gone on with his shoulder and what it means for his future. And he says he's going to start the season. He may have the best protection he's had in a while. Ryan Kelly coming back to center. He was a former top pick from Alabama. Yep. They got Quentin Nelson, one of the most talked about old linemen we've seen in a while, going to play guard for them. So, and that's protection right at the middle where it's so important nowadays. But I don't know, Mike, anymore what to say about him until we see him actually fire a regulation ball, on a 15-yard out route, instead of, a smaller ball, dumping it, on these quick 5-yard passes, which is all part of the process. I get it, but, there's a whole lot of wait and see going on here.
Or until he takes the subsequent hit. We can talk all about the protection, but the reality is still at some point he is going to get hit, and in the past that ended up being part of his undoing. I'm just amazed at what this has done to confidence because, you've rehabbed injuries. We've all seen the process of rehabbing and coming back. We know there's a mental hurdle to clear, especially once you get back out there for guys recovering from knee injuries, all these different things to make sure I can be the same as I was again. But the genuine fear here of the process of another setback. Remember Jim Irsay coming back and talking about Andrew Luck's timeline and him kind of pushing back at some of the expectations there. Now, what he told Frank Reich, I'll throw for you in private, but you can't tell anyone about this because God forbid it goes wrong, I'm sure is the thought going through his mind.
Well, isn't it different and difficult when you go into surgery and you go into rehab, you expect it to work. So when no one can figure out why it hasn't worked and no one can figure out why you aren't getting stronger and no one can figure out why you aren't getting healthier, how can you then trust your body? If you're Andrew Luck, how can you trust your body? If you're the coaching staff, how can you trust where he is in the process? Because they did the surgery, they did the rehab, and the fact is no one can still tell us why it didn't work.
And to Mike, to your point of the psychological, the doctor can sit there and tell you your knee is fine after you blew your knee out for a running back or somebody. So you go out there and you do some drills. But until you do that full speed cut, you get it. So for Luck, and to me, it's not about the long pass that you can arc, in the air. It is about that ball you got to put on a rope on that out route, that long out route where you got to put it on a line. When he can unleash that one with the confidence that he can do it without anything going to happen.
Yeah, confidence works all the way around here, and asking why the Colts should have confidence or how they can have confidence, because that's their only choice. Like, without this guy, their machine doesn't go anywhere. For all they've done this offseason, none of it matters without him.
That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. And that is going to be the great question we'll keep our eye on throughout the course of the summer. Until he starts to take hits in live time, I don't think any of us know what to expect from this.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Bretomology brought to you by Discover Card, who will match all the cash back new card members earn at the end of their first years. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
So we have Brett does research and Riley does research, and they switch off. And it's Riley who's been doing research today. Great job as she usually does. But Brett, because he has to be on air, has come in for his special segment of Bretomology. You have never done this before,
No.
Jason. So what he's going to do, and for those that are new to Bretomology, Brett will give you a phrase everybody knows, But you may not know is the origin of that phrase. So he'll give a phrase, he'll give you the real origin and a fake origin, and we have to decide which is real, which is fake. Right now, Ryan Hollins has gone 4 for 4, Wingo 24 for 36. Mike, you've gone 9 for 16. I'm 17 for 32. So this is your first attempt at this, Jason. So, Brett, thanks for coming in. I know you wanted to because you're on air. So let's go.
All right, first off, Bruce Springsteen overrated, Bob Marley overrated, and Bob Dylan is bad.
Wow.
Our first phrase. Wow. All that glitters is not gold.
All that glitters is not gold.
Just because it looks nice doesn't mean it's valuable. Is it from friend of the program, Bill Shakespeare, in his 1596 play, The Merchant of Venice? Quote, there is a written scroll, I'll read the writing. All that glitters is not gold. Often have you heard that told. Originally the word was glisters, but that has since been replaced by the more modern glitters. Or is it from the 12th century French monk and poet Alain Delille, who wrote, do not hold everything gold that shines like gold. Thought to be originally a line in one of his many lectures in Paris.
I rarely want to go away from my buddy Bill, so I think I'm going to go with 1.
Give me 2.
You're going 2?
I'm going 2.
You're going 2.
1.
It's the French guy.
There we go.
I got smoked. Oh, gone it.
Second phrase. The die has been cast.
The die has been cast.
Unchangeable event or choice has occurred. Die casting is a form of metal casting characterized by forcing molten metal under high pressure into a mold cavity, a technology which was invented in the 1830s for use in printing presses. Since you can't get the molten metal out of the mold until it is solidified, saying the die has been cast literally means you have started a process which cannot be undone. Or was it said by Julius Caesar as he crossed the Rubicon River with one of his legions to start the civil war that would bring him to power? Crossing the river in command of his soldiers was an offense punishable by death, so victory was his only option. When he said the die is cast, he meant he had passed the point of no return. Basically, you can't unroll the dice.
Wow. I almost want to go with Jules, but I'm not going. I'm going with 1. 1.
I'm going 1.
Mike's going 2.
Number 2, Caesar.
There we go.
Kidding me?
2 for 2. 2 for 2.
Are you kidding me? I'm 0 for 2.
The third phrase, and this is the weirdest research that I've done for any phrase.
That's a tease.
Grand Poobah.
Grand Poobah.
Someone with an important title but no real power.
What?
Dad?
Is it from a 1695 French fairy tale called Les Deux Poux, which translates to The Two Skins? In the story, a king's beloved donkey supplies the kingdom with all of its wealth by literally pooping gold. But when the queen dies, the king turns to a witch to bring her back, and she tells the king he must trade 2 skins for 1, the donkey's and his own. So he kills the donkey, lets the witch change his skin to wood. When the wife comes back, she returns to a husband she doesn't recognize and a kingdom which has lost all of its wealth. She takes her own life. The king with wooden skin, or in French, Le Grand Pourboire, lives the rest of his days powerlessly holed up in an empty castle. I have no idea why this was written for children.
Wow.
Or from an 1885 British comic opera called The Mikado, one of the most popular musicals of its time, set in a Japanese town with a bunch of goofy character names like Coco, Yum Yum, Nanky Poo, and Pooh Bah. Pooh Bah is a town official after all the other town officials resign. He ends up holding every title, and the grand portion of the name was not added until later.
I'm going with the poop and gold, number 1.
I checked out. I didn't take my Ritalin. I checked out midway through number 1, so I have no idea what it is. I'm taking 2.
Give me number 1, and if Brett made this up, I'm convinced he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
A lot of French today.
Number 2, the British opera.
Oh, my God.
The more I hear that sound of Ovechkin, it sounds like Stu Gatz to me.
Unreal. I'm 0 for 3. What's the last one?
The last phrase, keep at bay.
Keep at bay.
To prevent something from advancing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it from an Old English translation of a French word, abe, meaning to bark? This was largely used in reference to hunting dogs. If a dog was at bay, that would mean the dog would be barking at something, but not attacking it. Or, as we often do, we're going to take it to the high seas. Did it originate as a nautical term? Most frequently in the 17th and 18th centuries in relation to naval warfare. If a ship was being prevented from entering a port, it would remain in the offing at bay, which was the part of the water which could be seen from land. So if you were defending a port city, keeping an enemy at bay would mean they couldn't get all the way to the city they were trying to attack.
I'm going with that one. I'm going with the water. I like when we go to the seas.
I'm going 1.
Yeah, 2.
1.
What? It's the barking dogs.
Oh, my God.
Did we shut out Golic?
I got shut out. I got smoked. How many did you get, Jason?
3 out of 4.
Did you really?
I would like my
How many did you
championship
get,
belt.
Mike?
2 for 4. How about that IQ test, huh? Can't wait to get to that story now.
Oh, yeah. Well, the one in the
What
middle
an
was
idiot.
obviously the smartest.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
We are joined by Andy North, two-time U.S. Open champ. Andy North joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Andy, thanks for giving us some time, man. So much conversation about Tiger. In your mind, does he have any chance at actually winning this thing?
Oh, absolutely he does. If you watch the way he's striking the golf ball right now, I think, personally, I've watched him play an awful lot of golf over the last 20 years, watched him hit tons of balls. I think he's striking it about as well as I've ever seen him. He's controlling it nicely. He's controlling the flight. His driver has gotten remarkably improved from the first half of this season. And he just struggled with the putter a little bit at Memorial, and it looks like he's got that figured back out again. So I'd be shocked if he wasn't in the mix on Sunday.
Maybe I approach watching golf the wrong way, Andy, and I apologize to you as a golfer that I love seeing the guys in misery. That's why I love the Open so much and the pothole bunkers and the horrible weather, and here in the U.S. Open playing such a tough course. For the way this course is going to play, for my enjoyment, where are we going to see most players struggle on this course?
It's going to be on the greens, Mike, and I appreciate you thinking that way because that's the way I always approach the U.S. Open. I thought it should be the hardest, most difficult test we have all year long. But on this particular golf course this year, they made a decision to make the fairways much, much wider than they've ever been here in the past. They're probably an average 15 yards wider than they were the previous 3 Opens. So that changes kind of the way you look at it. The teeth of this golf course is going to be the greens. The green complexes are very difficult. Bunkering around the greens is good, and then you combine a lot of the bumps and rolls and mounds in these greens. It's going to be tough putting. So a guy has to hit the ball in the fairway so he can put the ball in the proper spots on the green so you can have some chances to make some putts. If you're hitting really long clubs into the greens or playing out of the rough, it's going to be tough to get the ball in the right places. So I think it's a huge advantage for the very good long drivers that we have.
Talking to Andy North on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Speaking of long drivers, Dustin Johnson, the odds-on favorite to win the tournament, but he just won the St. Jude Classic last week, and we read the stat, no one who's won a PGA Tour event the week prior has gone on to win the U.S. Open. As a player, I mean, that's a pretty well-known stat that's getting thrown around. As a player, how much stock do you take in hearing something like that?
Absolutely none. The fact that it's happened is amazing that somebody hasn't won, but I don't think of all people it would affect Dustin Johnson at all. He's out here just trying to play golf. I walked a few holes with him yesterday. He's hitting the ball beautifully. He regained some of his putting magic that we saw over the last couple of years this last week. So, again, with his distance, he's going to be playing a lot of wedges and 9-irons and short irons into these greens, and because of that, he's able to control the ball on these hard surfaces, put it in the right place, and he's got a chance to make some birdies. So I think it's going to be a different type of U.S. Open than, Mike, you would like to see, and probably I'm in that same category. I like to see guys struggle as much as possible. I loved that way of playing golf, but I think it's really a huge advantage for the longer hitters. They can put the ball in the fairway. They're going to play short enough clubs. They can go ahead and get the ball where they've got a chance to make some birdies. And I think if the wind doesn't blow over 15, you're going to see some good scores.
We're talking to two-time U.S. Open champ Andy North on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Andy, educate me. When I hear so much about a course that is as difficult as they say this one is, how quickly does somebody adjust their game to sort of whatever they need to for a course like this?
That takes the players about 15 minutes. That's what these guys are so good at, going from different kinds of grasses, different type of style of play. They can change so quickly. But I think this is a course that's interesting. The player of today doesn't play as many practice rounds as guys did maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago. There's a lot of guys that will come in and play 9 holes on Sunday, 9 holes on Monday, 9 holes on Tuesday to try to be rested and when the tournament starts, which I agree with. But a guy like Justin Rose, he came in and played 3 days last week where he got a lot of work in. Tiger came in and played a couple of days a couple of weeks ago. So you see different wind conditions. There's nothing more difficult on a course like this than you play the same wind on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then it changes for another direction on Thursday. You have no idea how to play some of the holes. So the more practice rounds you can play, the more times you can see the golf course, and particularly a U.S. Open course that you only play once every 10, 12, 14 years, whatever it might be. There's a lot of guys who've never played here. They have no idea how to play this golf course in a north wind. Yeah, they just have, they better hope that they don't get a wind they haven't seen.
Talking to Andy North, two-time U.S. Open winner, and along those lines, Andy, from the mental side of this, in '78, I believe you were leading after the second, third, and you were up 1 going into the last round, and then in '85 when you won, you were never leading until you won it. You were, as far as rounds, you were down 2 going into the final round. So, which is more mentally tough? Being up by that 1 going into the final round or being down 2 chasing in that last round?
Mike, I think it matters when you get that lead. If you've just kind of gone along all week long and you shoot a nice round on Saturday and you get the lead, I think that's a lot easier than having the lead on Sunday, having led Thursday, Friday, every night. Just because you've got more responsibilities in the media center, you're finishing later probably, you're probably not eating and sleeping quite as well because you're jacked up. I mean, I would suspect that you had a lot of trouble sleeping Sunday nights after games. You go over in your head, I should have made this play, or I could have done this, or I could have done that. We do that in our sport, and you have to do it 3 or 4 days in a row, and you don't sleep very soundly. By Sunday, sometimes you're just running on fumes, and that's why the guy who's done it a lot, the Tiger Woods, the Rory McIlroys, the Phil Mickelsons, they're better equipped to handle Sunday, having gone through a week like that. Where a younger player, it's such a new experience, and you're so worn out at the end of the week, sometimes you don't play very well.
Speaking of the advantage older players have, we talked about Tiger Woods, but what about Phil? He's famously finished second at this tournament 6 times, and that experience is certainly helpful, but what point does that burden of knowing I haven't gotten over the hump at this one start to weigh on him?
I think probably he's over that part of it, but the fact that this is a golf course that if you have experience on it, and Phil really should have won here in '04. He missed a couple of short putts right at the end that he had a chance. But he understands how to play this golf course. And the fact that the fairways are wider, I think that helps Phil a lot. He's so good around the greens, pitching and chipping. That's going to come into play this week because no matter how well you play, you're going to miss a dozen to 15 greens that you have to play some miraculous type shots from 10, 15, 20 yards off the green as they roll off these ridges. So I think he's got a great opportunity. He's playing arguably the best golf this year that he's played in probably 5 years. So I think, Phil's found the fountain of youth a little bit, and I think there's a great opportunity for him to have a great week.
Andy, let's get to the really important thing here. We find out Tiger's staying on a yacht. Can you get us on the yacht for a yacht party? I mean, can you just sort of sneak us into the yacht party?
I suspect this week wouldn't be a really good chance of that. No.
Gosh, that's fine. That's fair. Give us a winner. Before we let you go, give us a winner on who you think is going to pull this one out.
Well, I think this is open. I think there's a lot of different players that could win here because of the way the golf course is set up. But I really like the way Justin Rose is playing. He's had an unbelievable 18 months of quality play every single week. I know he was in here last week and played a bunch of practice rounds in a lot of different conditions. And the way he's been playing, I think that he's got as good a chance as anybody.
Well, we appreciate your time, guys. Check him out, ESPN golf analyst Andy North. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Golic
Makes me want to vomit and then punch you square in the face.
and Wingo.
Oh, he's saucy today.
We are joined by Pistons head coach Dwayne Casey. Coach, thanks for some time this morning. Congratulations on the Pistons job. What was it about that job particularly that you wanted?
Well, one, you've got, I think, a really good core of players there that, the organization has put together, and Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond and Reggie Jackson to start with, and just some exciting young players. They only missed the playoffs last year by, 4 games, and unfortunately, I think health was a huge issue for them last year. I thought Stan Van Gundy did an excellent job of putting the foundation with the team for his time there. So that was very attractive. Ownership with Tom Gores and in the front office with Ed Stefanski and Arn Tellem was another big part of the reason. But again, I enjoy coaching. It was an opportunity, and so it was a tough decision for my family because young family, and in the fact that I could have taken a year off and try to be with my family, but my wife was pushing me out the door to get back in and get back into coaching. So no, it was an easy decision. There's a lot of basketball tradition in Detroit. You go back to the Bad Boys, and they've done an excellent job with the new arena downtown, renovating downtown area. So that's going to be a very exciting times going into Detroit.
Go a little more into before you made that decision, because as I said, you coaches are crazy, and I mean in a good way. You guys the work ethic as a coach in before the players, out after the players, that nowadays you see more and more guys that were in your position take that year, maybe do some media work at one of the networks, take a year to kind of take a breath with the family and all that. How close were you? I know you mentioned there a couple of times there. How close were you to actually doing that?
Well, it was close because I did the media swing with ESPN on Friday, with the different shows there, and a matter of fact, it was close because I talked to Ed Stefanski I think Saturday morning, and informed him I was leaning toward taking the year off, and also I talked with Tom Gore. Tom called and spoke to my wife and I for a long time, and just with all the positive things that he was, planning to do with the organization, with the team, and just convinced me that it was the right thing to do. So, there's a lot of good coaches out there, Mike. It's there's a lot of folks that are better coaches than I are out there. So I feel humble and blessed just to have the opportunity to jump back in, and and it was nip and tuck there for a while, but again, I'm lucky to have the opportunity and excited to be there.
We're talking to Pistons head coach Dwayne Casey. Coach, walk me a little bit through that process. I always find it amazing when all of a sudden you find out now you're going to be living in a completely different city. You mentioned family and wife, and just trying to figure out how to live in Detroit. How do you balance getting worked into your new job and also working life in a new city for a family?
Well, right now I'm out in L.A. here to meet the players and spend time with all the players that live out here in California. So it's a whirlwind because I want to meet the guys and get to know them and watch them work out. And at the same time, my wife is, house hunting, looking for houses, and kids are finishing up school. That's the hard part of in the profession, whether it's baseball, football, whatever the profession is, for coaches and for players, especially for coaches, and kids get locked in as far as where friends are concerned, community, and then all at once they have to uproot. And I think it's easier for us than it is for the family to leave friends and loved ones behind that they've made. Especially we've been in a good community like Toronto, and you put in roots for 7 years and meet some great people, and Toronto's a great city. But again, another way you can look at it is an exciting adventure going to another city. You meet new friends and meet new teammates for your kids, and so it can be it's an exciting time also. So I really believe it's tougher on the family than it is for us as grown-ups and the people that, because I can go and indulge myself into work and dive in and work every day, where they're the ones who really have to make a tremendous sacrifice with the move.
Talking to Dwayne Casey, new head coach for the Detroit Pistons, formerly of the Raptors, as I said, for more than a few years there. And that's why players and coaches' wives are the MVP, because the players and coaches have to do their thing, and the wives have to move everybody and take care of all the business. So no doubt they are the MVPs there. So you leave a team and you leave a city where you had been a while, and you certainly had some success there. And a guy who coached under you gets that job in Nick Nurse. So tell us a little bit about him and what Toronto can expect from a guy that worked under you for 5 years can do there.
Well, Nick was in the G League. I remember I called him and didn't really know him. It was recommended by another colleague in the business, and met him, and so he came in and did a good job. He's a good offensive mind, and so he did an excellent job, and he'll do a good job for Toronto. And Nick is coached overseas in the league in England, and so he brings some experience there. He'll do a good job with the team, and it's a good opportunity for him.
Coach, nobody likes to get fired. I don't care what you do. Is there a little bit of, why did they do this to me in Toronto? I thought things had been going well. The playoffs, we know what's been going on there, but was there a little bit of, maybe I was wronged here?
No, you can't sit around and feel sorry for yourself. The thing about professional sports, as you guys know, it's a tough league. If you don't get the job done or to the level that ownership and the management and want you to, then they have the right and usually do remove you. So it's a tough league from that standpoint. I thought we did do a good job and accomplish the things that they asked us to do. They asked us to change the offense and change the defense. We did. I think we finished number 2 in the NBA in offense and number 4 in defense. I thought Rex Flamian did a good job with the defense there, and we did that. They said to develop the young players. We developed the best bench, which was all young players in the NBA. So we did that. So again, it's the NBA, it's the NFL, it's Major League Baseball. Owners can and management can do whatever they want to do and fire you. So it's never good to be fired. But again, I understood it when I got into this profession a long time ago. It's not my first rodeo, and nothing in this league surprises me anymore.
Coach, real quick before we let you go, do you have a plan on how you want to utilize Blake Griffin?
Oh, yes. I think Blake is a very, very talented young man. The way the league is going now, guys, as far as the bigs are concerned, I think he can space the floor. His three-point shooting has gone up. He had a career year shooting the three last year, and that's the way the league is going. I see him bringing the ball down the floor, initiating the offense or triggering the offense from the top and moving the ball from side to side, making decisions, making passes. Also, in our other big, Andre Drummond, averaged 3.5 assists last year. So we're blessed with a couple of starting bigs that really do a good job on the perimeter. As crazy as it sounds with Andre Drummond, he's an excellent passer, decision maker from the top. With his size and passing skills, really should open up our offense. Again, from in transition, and it's a lot easier getting it done when you get stops on the other end, on the defensive end. So, but Blake brings a lot to the table. He's seen everything. He's seen all the defense. He can be one of the top leaders on our team. I'm excited about that. So, we're excited about the season. The key with us is staying healthy from top to bottom and making sure, everyone can maximize their talents on the court and not so much time in the training room. And I think that's been the thing that has hurt them more than anything else, because when that group was healthy, they were a pretty effective team, and that's what we plan on going into the season.
Congratulations on the new opportunity, Coach. We appreciate your time. Dwayne Casey, head coach of the Detroit Pistons. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Mike. See you guys down the road.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.